As fans pour in for tonight's Orioles game, our team is looking into the murder investigation of a man shot in the head right across the street. Allegations of spying and wiretapping within Harford County government.
All email servers are county property, and they're subject to review by county officials.
Now the county executive responds to the allegations.
So you stand firm that there was nothing illegal done here?
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We're following multiple stories in a city in crisis tonight. Baltimore police cameras that are meant to help officers stay safe and keep the city safe aren't always working. The issues faulty tech is causing for investigators.
But first, a murder right across the street from Camden Yards. This is a live look at the ballpark right now. In just 3 hours, the O's will take the field for tonight's game against the New York Mets. Thousands of fans are expected to attend, but as excitement brews for tonight's game, there are questions about safety downtown. Good evening, I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Kai Jackson. Alexa Ashwell is live there right now with what she's learned about the victim and the latest on this investigation. Alexa?
Yes, Kai, Maxine, we're just across the street from Camden Yards in the parking lot of a gas station. Within the just the past hour, we received an update on this investigation as well as the victim. Sources close with this investigation tell me they believe the victim was in fact targeted. Exactly why, though, is unclear. Baltimore police confirming the victim, 27-year-old Chris Morton. You can see this growing memorial here in his honor. Friends tell us he was just 2 days
June 2022 Department of Legislative Services report in 2021, 12% of the city's cameras were not functional. 34 that August alone were down. A month later, only 6 had been fixed. Fox 45 reached out to BPD to find out how many cameras are currently down citywide. We have not yet heard back. Some residents questioning where their tax dollars are going.
They just need to do a better job. I mean, if we have money to invest in all these other projects, I mean, the cameras are part of that project.
And wondering if criminals are given a free rein.
And the people that are making these crimes, they know that. Like, they know they're not going to get caught. They know exactly where they can do certain things because, you know, they're not going to be recorded.
The red dots on this map show homicides this year in Baltimore, which happened in the vicinity of a city camera.
That's not cool. That is not good.
Yvonne, who's in Baltimore for a convention, now wondering about her safety, knowing if something happens, it may not be caught on camera.
Who out here would know me, who would find me, who would find the evidence, I'd become a cold case.
So take a look at this broken glass right here on North Paca under this camera. Meanwhile, of the 161 homicides this year, Baltimore police say only 42 have been cleared so far with 6 open warrants, which is a 21% closure rate. For now, we're live in Baltimore. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
New tonight, the Baltimore City Council has postponed the confirmation hearing of the nomination of Richard Worley to police commissioner. Now, that hearing was supposed to happen August 15th. Fox 45 News is asking why the hearing is delayed. A new hearing will be announced at a later date, according to City Council President Nick Mosby's office. Worley was nominated by Mayor Brandon Scott in June. Since then, several controversies have come to light, including where he lives and the investigation into the Brooklyn Day mass shooting.
Allegations of spying and illegal wiretapping levied against the Harford County executive this week by a member of the county council.
I do not work for the county executive. I work for the constituents of District B. It's a separate branch of government. I am not an employee of the county. Therefore, he is not privy to my emails and correspondence on cell phones.
But tonight, Harford County Executive Bob Casserly is holding his ground. Casserly claims an internal investigation that involved looking at emails on county servers was both legal and allowed under Harford County policy. Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us now in studio after her exclusive sit-down interview with Casserly in Bel Air. Amy?
Yeah, Maxine, today we're hearing directly from the county executive for his side of the story that's been unfolding all week. Late Sunday, County Councilman Aaron Penman said he was tipped off that emails between him, the sheriff, and several others had been monitored after he made allegations the county executive misappropriated $7 million in county funds back in May. And today, County Executive Casserly said his administration opened an internal investigation claiming a review of communications was well within their authority.
All email servers are county property, and they're subject to review by county officials. So that's what was done. It was a one-time snapshot looking. They looked one time. It was one person looked. It was not an ongoing snooping of council members' stuff. And that's it. And it was totally as allowed under the policies of the county. I have every confidence that we followed existing protocols and rules. There's no basis for anything, the complaints, the allegations of impropriety.
So you stand firm that there was nothing illegal done here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing illegal done here. This was totally in compliance with existing county policies.
Now, earlier this week, the Harford County Sheriff's Office said it opened an investigation after receiving a criminal complaint over these wiretap allegations. The case was then shifted to the Harford County State's Attorney, but ultimately it was referred to the office of the Maryland State Prosecutor. Now, State Prosecutor Chuck Howard telling me this week his office does not comment on the existence or status of any investigation. In the studio, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Baltimore County Police is asking for the public's help in solving the murder of a 15-year-old. Lamar Leslie Allen was shot and killed in the townhomes of Diamond Ridge community back in January. Investigators believe someone has information, and they're hoping that person comes forward. There's an $8,000 reward for information that leads to a conviction in the case. For more information, head to foxbaltimore.com.
In Anne Arundel County, a man was arrested for strangling a teenager last night. Around 7 p.m., officers responded to the Anne Arundel Mills Mall in Hanover. Police say 49-year-old Miguel Jorge is accused a 14-year-old of stealing his phone, then strangled the kid when he said he didn't have it. The child did not have the phone. Jorge is facing assault charges. A mother accuses her own son of murdering her ex-boyfriend, the latest on the search for one of Maryland's most wanted.
More young people are starting to use e-cigarettes. Now some worry that usage could increase when kids head back to school.
Donald Trump has been criminally indicted for a third time. I'm Scott Thuman in Atlanta with the latest on special counsel Jack Smith's investigation and what could come next for the former president here in Georgia.
And here at Fox 45, we are your back-to-school headquarters. Just 24 days until kids in Baltimore City go back to school. Carroll County, portions of the Eastern Shore, it's 32 days. 24 days also at Queen Anne's County and Talbot County. Going to let you know how much hotter, though, not really back to school like, gets over the weekend. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
The race for the White House took another odd turn this week after Donald Trump found himself under arrest again, this time accused of trying to undermine the 2020 election. He pleaded not guilty on Thursday, but in some ways that's just the beginning of this legal fight as another potential indictment is looming. St. Clair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
In a twist on Trump's lock her up attacks against Hillary Clinton, he now finds himself on the receiving end. The divide over Donald Trump's future perhaps energizing both sides.
We all witnessed what happened in the Capitol right over there. It was started because of lies that were told by Donald Trump and his cronies.
I hope he goes up another 5 points in the polls. Every time Jack Smith goes in front of the podium, Trump goes up another 4 to 6, 7 points.
Despite his latest arrest for allegedly trying to undermine the election process and prevent the transfer of power to Joe Biden, Trump's defense team painting his indictment as an attack on free speech.
Is being prosecuted by his political opponent who controls the Justice Department and is using the tools, the sacred tools of the criminal justice system, to censor a political opponent.
Ulterior motives, they claim, at play.
You know, in America, you are entitled to raise a question. You're entitled to question whether it was honest or not. So stop using government to go after people who politically disagree with you.
Trump is also waiting to hear if he'll be charged in an investigation here in Georgia over allegations he tried to reverse his 2020 loss in this state. The Fulton County District Attorney suggesting grand jury indictments could come soon. A grand jury deciding if Trump tried to force election officials there to alter the results.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Yet Trump, based on positive polls, ever defiant, posting, "I need one more indictment to ensure my election." I'm Scott Thuman reporting.
A growing number of House Democrats are calling for Donald Trump's trial to be televised. 24 Democrats signed a letter saying it is in the country's best interest to have live cameras in the courtroom. Normally, cameras are banned in federal court proceedings, but the lawmakers are arguing the trial has a unique national importance. In the past, top lawmakers in both parties have pushed legislation to allow cameras in federal courtrooms.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has narrowed former President Trump's lead in Iowa. According to the most recent New York Times Siena poll, Trump is the Republican frontrunner in the early voting state with 44%. DeSantis is second with 20%, followed by Senator Tim Scott and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy. National polling has Trump further ahead. He is the choice of 54% of GOP voters. DeSantis is far behind in second with just 17%.
Well, the new round of blistering temperatures is expected this weekend in the South. 140 heat records could be broken. The worst of that heat has been in Arizona, where one county has already reported 64 heat-related deaths this year.
At the same time, water temperatures are reaching record highs in Florida, killing wildlife. The average surface temperature hit 69.7 degrees Fahrenheit at the end of July, beating a record last set in 2016. Scientists warn the unprecedented heat can disrupt complex ecosystems, killing marine life and causing a rise in sea levels. A live look now tonight at Towson and Camden Yards, where the O's are set to play the Mets later on tonight. The clouds have made it look like it could rain all day, but it hasn't, not yet at least. Meteorologist Jonathan Myers joins us with a look ahead tonight. Any rain in the forecast for that game?
Yeah, you know, Maxine, Kai, actually things are looking up, I'm sure, for the O's score and also for the weather.
Right.
Maybe a shower or storm, but I think that's mainly north of the city. So that's what we're going to be tracking as our next weather maker completes its push through later on today into the evening hours. There are some showers and thunderstorms, actually even some severe ones over portions of Pennsylvania. Some severe thunderstorm warnings up around Columbia, PA. Around here, there are a few showers on the eastern shore from a little southern system that is finally releasing its grip. Sun, Maryland had some drizzle and light rain out of that early today and overnight last night. That continues to pull away. And some of those showers and storms that are off to our north potentially could move in for tonight. We go ahead and take a look at the national radar. And as we zoom out, you'll see again, this weather maker is gliding southbound. So I think that some of the leftovers, although it's not going to be prime heating and prime time for showers and thunderstorms around here or severe weather, but some of them could make the trip over the Mason-Dixon line, and especially areas north of Baltimore. You see there Westminster up to Bel Air, Elkton. I think northern Harford County, Hereford Zone, Cecil County, maybe northern portions of Carroll County. You're going to have at least a marginal risk of severe weather, and that's through about midnight tonight as those storms in PA start drifting south and continue to die out overnight. The wind, damaging wind, that's going to be the biggest threat. But there could be a brief downpour or two. There are those severe storms. Again, it's during the main heating of the day, so that's why they're really kicking over portions of Pennsylvania and New York. There's that system down to our south that continues to drift eastbound and out. And the hot, humid weather still located to our south and west. It just won't stop. We were just talking about that deadly heat down around Phoenix, 110, 101 at Oklahoma City, 102 at Dallas, New Orleans, near 100 degrees. For now, that's where the heat stays. But we're going to get a couple little pieces of that and maybe getting rid of some of this more comfortable air that we've been seeing around here. Only 80 right now on the Mile 1 Task Cam. Looks good. Winds out of the east at 7. Feels like temperatures at about 82. So a little bit muggier today. Again, a couple of spot showers south and east into the early evening. And then later on, as we head through, say, about 8, 9 o'clock, there are some of those storms descending in from Pennsylvania, but they die out as they move in. So there could be a stray shower here in Baltimore and points south. The biggest threat of the bad weather is going to be north, so keep an eye to the sky and stay weather alert. Again, portions of northern Carroll County, northern Harford County, and also northern Baltimore County, Cecil County area through about midnight tonight. In terms of rain, not going to see a ton. There could be a couple downpours, say, right around Bel Air on this computer model. That will put down maybe a quarter, half an inch of rain. Otherwise, it's a tenth of an inch of rain or less. And by the way, we really do need some rain. We're still in a moderate to severe drought from Baltimore points west. We're just not going to see a whole lot here. For Saturday, 90 degrees. PM storm or two on Sunday. That'll be late in the day, if anything. 87. That could be another severe weather day. We're going to have to keep our eyes on a potential weather alert for Monday. Leftover shower or storm on Tuesday. Then near 90 into Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So it does turn hot once again. But for the O's tonight, should be A-OK with temperatures in the 70s to near 80.
All right, we'd love to hear it. This summer, Sinclair is partnering with the National Diaper Bank for Sinclair Care's Summer Diaper Drive. Scan this QR code to help local diaper banks provide diapers to children and families in need. Donate today for a healthier future for our little ones. And if your family is struggling with basic needs for your baby, go to sinclaircares.com. A taxpayer watchdog says the city is spending more than it has to on expensive trips, taking a closer look at where your money could be saved. Plus, 2 U.S. Navy sailors accused of selling secrets to China. The charges they're facing as tensions between the countries rise. Some breaking news now. We've just learned the charges against the women arrested for protesting BGE construction in their neighborhood. They've been dropped. In June, 3 women in Federal Hill were arrested for blocking the installation of new external gas regulators. The installation has sparked controversy citywide, with hundreds of Baltimore residents joining a class action lawsuit against BGE. Yesterday, Councilman Eric Costello announced plans to propose a measure calling for a citywide ban on those external regulators. We're taking a look now at our Fox 45 quad box. A transcript of Hunter Biden's former business associate, Devin Archer, has been released. That transcript shows Archer says Hunter Biden used his father's stature to further his own business ties to Ukraine energy company Burisma, but adds Hunter was not able to influence Joe Biden's actions on policy. In the testimony, Archer also says he never heard anything about alleged bribes some House Republicans are accusing the president of accepting. Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today. Christie says his visit will help Americans see what he sees, so their resolve to support Ukraine becomes even greater. 2 U.S. Navy sailors are under arrest, accused of passing along national defense information to Chinese intelligence in exchange for money. If convicted, both men face up to 20 years in prison. A Russian court has sentenced opposition leader Alexei Navalny to a new 19-year prison sentence for extremism charges. He is a harsh critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin. He's already serving a 9-year term on fraud and other charges that he and international observers say are politically motivated. The U.S. and the European Union have condemned the sentence. For the latest text alerts on developing stories in Baltimore and across the country, download the Fox Baltimore News app. Will students have access to e-cigarettes at school? The warning from a doctor over the risks they pose to your children. Tens of thousands of cars at risk of catching fire. The latest issue facing Hyundai and Kia owners. More than $1 billion up for grabs. Breaking down tonight's historic lottery drawing in a live interview. Taking a look at our weather, radar Towson and Camden Yards, where the O's are set to take on the Mets tonight. It's been a cloudy day, but things are looking like they're finally clearing up. Jonathan Myers here now with the latest on what comes next. Jonathan?
Yeah, and guys, it appears as we head into this evening, we are tracking a weather maker that is moving south. I've drawn in the arrow, but I want you to notice as we zoom on in, showers and thunderstorms pretty good distance away from us, way up into Pennsylvania. And a lot of them, as they come in, it's not going to be peak heating. So as they roll in this evening, they're going to be dying out. Now, there could be a shower potentially as we take on the Mets. But notice that marginal risk, that green level 1 of 5 risk of severe weather is north of Baltimore. So first pitch, 7:05, 80 degrees. We're going to have a few extra clouds, and it looks like a few extra clouds as well. Fifth inning, a little bit muggy, 76. And as the O's make that big win against the Mets and stay in number 1, ninth inning, 74 degrees. There could be a stray shower, but I don't think anything that's really going to ruin the game or really impact the game or its play. I'm going to be tracking those chances of severe storms, though, in another round that could come early next week. That's all in my Weather Authority forecast.
This week, the Baltimore Board of Estimates approved more than $80,000 in taxpayer funds to be used for trips. The most expensive trip will be a conference in Ocean City that will cost taxpayers $29,000. City leaders say events like these are critical for networking and showcasing Baltimore's achievements. However, some taxpayer watchdogs say the city could send fewer representatives, stay in cheaper hotels, and find alternate ways to fund the trips besides using taxpayer dollars.
Why does the city of Baltimore need to send 17 top officials, costing taxpayers $29,000 over to Ocean City for this county conference? I've never seen at a county conference anywhere across the country a breakout session on how to do more with less. I've never seen a breakout session or a conference dedicated to rooting out the systemic waste, fraud, corruption, and taxpayer abuse in all these spending systems.
For that Ocean City trip, Council President Nick Mosby asked for the most cash. Mosby requested the city to pay nearly $1,700 for his hotel stay. In comparison, Councilman Antonio Glover's lodging request was $982.
A man is gunned down in cold blood. Then his ex-girlfriend makes a shocking allegation. The masked shooter was her own son. Here's Alexa Ashwell with Maryland's Most Wanted.
Investigators believe the man behind the mask is this man, 21-year-old Tajon Gill. He's accused of murdering his mother's on-again, off-again boyfriend nearly a year ago. And now the U.S. Marshal Service needs your help tracking him down.
October 18th, 2022, Hagerstown, Maryland. A woman calls 911 and says her ex-boyfriend has been shot. Officers respond and find the 46-year-old victim lying in front of a home here on Murph Avenue.
They find the victim, who has been shot multiple times, on the ground. They perform medical attention and rush him to the hospital.
At the hospital, the victim is pronounced dead. In the waiting room, the woman tells officers she witnessed the shooting and believes it was her own son, 21-year-old Tajon Gill, who pulled the trigger.
The mother is without a doubt convinced that this shooter was her son.
The woman tells police up until recently, she and the victim had been dating for the past 15 years and that he and her son had always had a rocky relationship. That night, the woman says her brother asked her to come over because of an ongoing issue. Surveillance video detailing what happens next.
This was a very violent murder.
Investigators say the woman, victim, and another man can be seen standing outside when suddenly a masked suspect appears behind them, pulls out a gun, and shoots the victim. The victim runs, but the shooter follows.
The subject then chases him down the street and continues to fire at him.
The victim, clearly the shooter's sole target. At the hospital, investigators say officers show the woman the surveillance video, and she again identifies the suspect as her son.
I can't even imagine the position that she is put in to identify her son. She's trying to do the right thing.
But why would this young man resort to murder?
But we don't know exactly why he decided to take this action.
At this point, through investigation, we still do not understand the exact motive of this.
Investigators say Gill doesn't have a lengthy criminal history, detailing one prior arrest for possession of a handgun. The 21-year-old has now been on the run for nearly a year, and according to investigators, should be considered armed and dangerous.
We do not believe that Gill is out of the Hagerstown area. He might have crossed into Pennsylvania, but that is about as far as we think that he might have gone. We need to get him off the streets so nobody else falls victim to Gill. And while he's running from us, there's potential that other people can get hurt.
Investigators say it's likely Gill is still in the Hagerstown area and possibly has fled to Pennsylvania. So take a good look. He stands at about 6'2" and weighs approximately 150 pounds. If you have any information regarding his whereabouts, you're asked to contact the U.S. Marshal Service. The tip line number 1-877-WANTED-2. Or you can contact agents directly, 202-819-5058. Remember, you can always remain anonymous, and you could earn a reward. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
Kia and Hyundai under fire again, this time for concerns over a serious defect. The car makers are recalling more than 92,000 vehicles because of a fire risk. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the vehicle's fuel pumps could overheat and start a fire. The recall impacts multiple 2023 and 2024 vehicle models. Affected customers will be notified through the mail between now and September. Meantime, the companies recommend the vehicles be parked outside, away from structures.
That recall comes as the companies are already under fire for poor security features. Kias and Hyundais have been at the center of a massive spike in car thefts across the country and even here in the Baltimore area. This week, more than 11 kids have been caught in car thefts involving Kias. Security cameras in the Brooklyn area, in fact, caught a group of kids as young as 11 participating in the crimes. Now, the kids stealing the cars and taking them on joyrides before they run out of gas, abandon them, often going after other cars.
They're using the vehicles to joyride in. They're using the vehicles to go out and commit other crimes. I don't think it's become easier in light of recent, changes. It makes it more challenging. The 11 and the 12-year-old, had it been a carjacking or an attempted carjacking, that meets the criteria for those offenders to be charged. But since it was a crime against property, which motor vehicle theft is a crime against property and not a crime of violence, it does not meet the criteria for charging.
Now, 2 of those thefts this week ended in crashes. One group of kids crashed a car into a neighbor's yard. Another group was arrested after a hit and run.
As kids head back to school, a rise in e-cigarette use is on the rise, a trend that has doctors worried. Fox 45's Megan Gillen spoke with a doctor this morning about the risks vaping could pose to your kids.
About 1 in 20 adults are e-cigarette users, with young adults ages 18 to 24 vaping the most, and that's according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. As our kids get ready to head back to school with classmates who might be vaping, Dr. Jason Rose, a pulmonary physician, shares the health concerns parents might not be aware of.
That's probably the most concerning thing for me as a pulmonary physician, is that we don't know the long-term effects. We didn't understand the long-term effects of cigarettes for 30 to 50 years. And we can't wait that long to figure that out on vaping products. We have to realize there could be long-term risks with it.
Is there indications on what it might do?
Well, one of the biggest chemicals in these vaping products is nicotine. And nicotine, we know, has addictive effects, and it has acute effects on the cardiovascular system. The other chemicals that I worry about are some of the flavoring agents. We just don't know what's in all of them, and those can have very acute effects on the lungs.
We hear so often people using the vape pens, like you're holding in your hand here, as a tool to help quit smoking. Is that effective? Is this better than cigarettes?
Well, right now it's not approved by the FDA as a cigarette cessation device. Some studies have shown you might be able to lower the amount of cigarettes you are intaking. However, we don't know the safety profile of this, and it is not FDA approved to do so.
Dr. Rose went on to say the best thing parents can do is to have a conversation with their kid and explain these dangers. I'm Megan Gilland, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 is your back-to-school headquarters now through the first day of school. We'll be compiling all of the things busy parents need to know to prepare for a great school year. Just click on the QR code on your screen to check out all of the stories we've posted so far, or go to foxbaltimore.com/back-to-school-HQ.
Well, people are paying up, hoping for a big payout. $1.35 billion is up for grabs in tonight's Mega Millions lottery. The jackpot has been rolling since it was last won, April 18th. Tonight, we're joined by Seth Elkin from the Maryland Lottery. Seth, thank you for joining us.
How you doing?
We're good. We'd be better if we won that jackpot,
we sure
though, right?
would be.
Everybody's hoping. We're at 1.35 billion, as you said. You know, we started today at 1.25 billion, and the number got revised because sales are doing well. We look at sales all the time to see how things are going, and that dictates what that jackpot is, of course. So it's 1.35 billion. If it gets hit tonight at that amount, it would be the second largest jackpot in Mega Millions history and the fourth largest all time in U.S. lottery history. And perhaps the fun part, though, is what happens if it doesn't get hit tonight, because the next drawing on Tuesday would bring us to a $1.55 billion jackpot, and that would be the largest in Mega Millions history. So we are truly in historic territory here as we go into tonight.
So, Seth, if someone wins, typically they have options for how they want to take the money. Can you explain what they are? And is there an advantage to one option over the other?
Sure. I think most people who win the jackpots in Mega Millions and Powerball go for the cash option rather than the annuitized payments over the course of time. So the cash option for tonight, $659.5 million. And once you take taxes out of that, it takes you to a slightly lower income bracket, $442 million, which I think hopefully most people can live on. I don't know about you, but I think I could.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I could eke by on that, I think. Good grief.
So what are the odds that someone wins tonight?
Well, the odds are always the same. Hitting the jackpot is 1 in 302 million. It's because there are 302 million possible combinations of the numbers in Mega Millions. So the odds are long, but there are lots of other ways to win. There are 9 different prize levels in Mega Millions that go from $2 all the way on up to the jackpot. So even if you hear tomorrow morning nobody hit the jackpot, make sure you check your tickets because you may have won something. And we've had plenty of those here in Maryland. In this jackpot roll that began back in April, we've had more than 800,000 winning tickets here in Maryland for some amount. The largest one of those is a $4 million winner that was sold in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. Right. And, just to give you an idea, a snapshot of what this means financially to the winners and also to the state, we've had about $45 million worth of Mega Millions sales during this roll in the last 3+ months.
Right.
We've had about $11.5 million worth of prizes won on those tickets. And roughly 26% of what we make on ticket sales gets returned to the state in contributions to the general fund. So do a little quick back of the envelope math. You're looking at about $11.6 million so far returned to the state just from the sale of Mega Millions tickets in the last 3 months. So it's a win all the way around for the players and for the state.
Seth, we got to go real quick before we do. Is it accurate? Is it true that scratch-offs historically in Maryland have the most consistent payouts to people?
Well, scratch-offs are our most popular games, and we saw over $1 billion worth of scratch-offs last year, and definitely that's what's popular with players.
Okay. Now, Seth Elkin, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck to everyone playing tonight.
Still ahead on Fox 45, gas prices are on the rise, looking into what's driving more expensive trips to the pump.
I'm Janae Bowens in Washington. I'll tell you about the efforts underway across the country to ensure your vote counts in the upcoming presidential election.
Election security is being talked about by some. The National Desk, Janae Bowens, joins us with a look at potential issues and what's being done across the country to make sure your vote counts.
So Trump can't sneak or steal his way to victory.
That was a rigged election.
Accusations of electoral fraud from both sides. But Kim Wyman, former Washington Secretary of State and senior fellow at the Bipartisan Policy Center, says election security isn't a partisan issue.
Election officials spend a lot of time making sure that there are physical security controls and cybersecurity controls in every element of what they do.
Election officials are enhancing safety measures.
If they have an interaction with a voter who is upset or angry, that they feel prepared.
Our station in Washington State got a firsthand look at how a county there is beefing up security and training election workers amid a growing nationwide harassment problem. The state also allocating more than $3 million to improve election location security and do things like purchase or upgrade their security software and hardware. And in Arizona County, leaders wanted to start hand counting ballots, but switched course because of the cost, time, and inaccuracies. Officials across the country also continuing to work against artificial intelligence concerns.
AI is going to make it easier for them to send emails that might look very legitimate coming from a local election office that might try to confuse voters on when they're able to go and vote. AI could also be used to do a host of things like deepfake videos.
Wyman says it will be crucial to teach people to be aware of new technologies. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency announced just last week new regional election security advisors. And earlier this year, the Department of Homeland Security announced $2 billion in preparedness grants for things like election security. But there are calls for the government to do more. Reporting for the National Desk, I'm Janae Bowens.
Well, gas prices are climbing. According to AAA, the average cost for a gallon of gas is $3.83 a gallon, 10 cents higher than last Friday. It's also higher than a month ago. The gas prices in Maryland are slightly below the national average, sitting around $3.79 a gallon.
All right, we are tracking our latest weather maker as it makes its final push, and that could be with a round of some thunderstorms. Are off to our north right now. Have had some history of severe weather across southern, eastern, and central Pennsylvania. Those continue to push southbound and could be ours for later on this evening on into tonight. Don't think it's going to threaten the O's game, though, so that's some good news there. I think there could be some rain that's in the area, maybe some light showers that are left over, but it's not going to be prime time like right now for these cells to produce some rowdy, nasty weather. Actually had some drizzle light rain from this old system down to our south. That was last night into early this morning. That continues to also pull away. So by the time we hit tomorrow and most of Sunday, should be a lot better. But for now, we do have a marginal risk of severe weather, mainly north of Baltimore. That is going to be through about midnight tonight. I think the biggest threat is going to be some gusty winds out of any of these leftovers of severe storms that drift southbound as a cold front tries to push at us. It's not going to really have a whole lot of inroads in terms of cooler weather. We actually have been kind of cool with highs near 80, but I think lesser humidity by a touch tomorrow. And then it looks like the heat down to our south and west, at least a little touch of that is going to build in by the end of the weekend into next week, keeping us at or maybe slightly above average once again. Look at these temperatures up way up there around 100. From Oklahoma City to Dallas, 110 at Phoenix, 97 in New Orleans. So we're sitting pretty, getting ready for the O's game at 7:05. We're at 80, mostly cloudy skies. Toyota H&R Harper Skycam looks good with mostly cloudy skies as well. Winds out of the east at 7, and it feels like 82 degrees. That easterly wind has been helping us out with the temperatures, keeping us in those low 80s pretty much all day long, so that's nice. But then into tonight, there are those storms rolling in by about 9, 10 o'clock north of Baltimore. Notice as they hit the city, they kind of just go poof, gone. So there could be a spot shower or two for the game, especially towards the end of the game as we see a Big O's win, right? But I don't think it's going to impact game play. And then it looks like into tomorrow morning, it's just mild and muggy with temperatures settling down into the 60s to near 70. Any downpours would be located way up there towards the state line, so not expecting any flooding or anything like that. But again, a couple of gusty storms well north through about midnight tonight. And then after that, Saturday, 90, 89. Could see a PM storm or two on Sunday. That'd be late in the day and a better chance of maybe some severe weather Monday before things get hot again next week.
Jonathan, thank you. An ice cream staple in Baltimore is celebrating a special anniversary. How the Charmery is marking 10 years making sweets for the city. Well, tonight, a legendary Baltimore ice cream shop is celebrating a special anniversary. The Charmery is turning 10 years old and celebrating with music, new flavors, and more. Fox 45's Amy Aronson has details.
The Charmery is celebrating 10 years this weekend, and we are actually kicking off the celebrations with David Alma, who's telling us all about it. You've got the full scoop on everything happening.
Absolutely.
It's a huge party with ice cream.
10 years? I mean, come on.
It's a big deal.
This is all about the musical legends of the DMV. We made 5 flavors based on them, but it's also about celebrating our communities that we're in. We have concerts at Columbia, here in Hamden, one at our factory. There's going to be partying in Chevy Chase and Towson. It's going to be amazing.
And you've got a whole lineup of new flavors, so let's run folks through what they can enjoy in addition to your classics.
Oh, absolutely. This one here is our Heard It Through the Grapevine. That's a tribute to Marvin Gaye, DC legend Marvin Gaye. It's a white grape ice cream with ruby chocolate stracciatella. We got that PMA, Positive Mental Attitude from Bad Brains, another DC legend. That's our vegan flavor. It's a coconut cream base with peanut butter, matcha, and apples.
Ooh,
oh, it's so good.
good.
It all works together. We have that Tony Braxton, Uncake My Heart, Baltimore, Peaches and Regalia from Frank Zappa, and of course, you can't forget the Blues Are Brewing.
So many fun names.
From Billie Holiday. That's our coffee base with blueberry donuts. It's so yummy.
Okay, awesome. Everything sounds really good here. Top flavor over the past 10 years. What's your fave?
Maryland Mud is why we open our doors. You know, I mean, that's the one that
People come for, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you want to come out and join the celebrations, we have all the information on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Here in Hamden, Amy Aronson, Fox 45 News.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, a murder right outside of Camden Yards, how that violence could impact fans. Plus, our coverage of the indictment of former President Donald Trump continues. We'll take a look at what comes next as the election approaches. You got me, Josh.
The Harford County executive speaking with Fox 45 News following accusations of spying, why he says his actions were justified.
Our coverage of the federal indictment of former President Trump continues. We take a look at how we got to this point and what comes next.
And we have a marginal risk of severe weather for some. I'm going to let you know if we've got any implications for tonight's O's game by any rain or storms. My Weather Authority forecast.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We begin with breaking news. A 17-year-old is dead after being shot in the upper body and face. It happened around 3 o'clock this afternoon on Pentland Drive. It's in Northeast Baltimore. Anyone with information should contact police or Metro Crime Stoppers. The number on your screen, it's 1-866-7-LOCK-UP.
And more breaking news right now. The charges against the women arrested for protesting BGE construction have been dropped. In June, 3 women in Federal Hill were arrested for blocking the installation of new external gas regulators. The installation has sparked controversy citywide, with hundreds of Baltimore residents joining a class action lawsuit against BGE. Yesterday, Councilman Eric Costello announced plans to propose a measure calling for a citywide ban on those external regulators. Turning to a city in crisis, excitement is building for the Baltimore Orioles game tonight against the New York Mets, but there are some concerns about safety. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Police say a man was found fatally shot in a gas station parking lot right across from Camden Yards.
There are also questions about cameras meant to be used to prevent crime around the city and whether or not they're working.
We have team coverage in a city in crisis tonight, beginning with Alexa Ashwell. She has more on what she's learned about that victim and the latest on the investigation.
Baltimore police have identified the victim as 27-year-old Chris Morton. Investigators say he was found fatally shot in this back parking lot just across the street from Camden Yards. You can see this growing memorial in his honor. Police say they were called to this gas station on Russell Street around 2 yesterday afternoon after someone reported an SUV had crashed in the back parking lot. Investigators noticing a bullet hole in the front windshield and say inside they found the victim in the driver's seat with a gunshot wound to his head. Morton was pronounced dead at an area hospital. Who did this and why? Unclear and unnerving. Morton's friends say they talked with the victim about an hour before he was killed, adding he was well liked and respected.
1 o'clock yesterday, I said what's up to him, and he said hi to me like he does every day, and that was the last thing I ever said to him. He was probably one of the most respectful people, very humble, very nice, didn't judge nobody.
Now, sources close with this investigation do say they believe Morton was targeted, but again, exactly why is unclear. Investigators are viewing area surveillance as well as talking with any witnesses. No suspect information has been provided. No arrests have been made. In downtown Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
There are some concerns that crime could have an impact on fan response. The Birds are #1 in the AL East, but when it comes to ticket sales, the O's are ranked 22nd out of 30 MLB teams. That according to BaseballReference.com. Experts say while crime could be keeping people away right now, things could get better soon.
A lot of people have become accustomed to not going to downtown Baltimore. So the mayor should be talking about, we care about your safety when you come to Baltimore. We take that very seriously. We're doing things to make you safer in a city that has been quite dangerous historically. The change in the air. We have a mayoral election next year. And so I really view, and this might sound naive, that Baltimore City is going to have a great renaissance later this decade.
Well, does crime keep you from going downtown for events? That poll just opened. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab to weigh in.
As investigators are working a homicide down the street from Camden Yards, they'll be relying on surveillance cameras in the area to help find the shooter.
But Fox 45's Vincent Hill shows us some of the city's cameras may not be always working. Vincent.
Yeah, Kai Maxine, you may think cameras like this one are watching over you, but that may not always be the case. Now, according to a 2022 report, at one point in the city, 12% of the city's cameras were not working. In August of 2021 alone, 34 cameras were inoperable. A month later, only 6 had been fixed. The average turnaround time to fix a camera, according to that report, 1 to 2 days or up to a few weeks. That turnaround time not sitting well with residents concerned for their safety.
Unfortunate, nobody feels safe, and I think those in charge need to take a stronger look at that. They need to tap into the areas on a day-to-day basis and understand that it's dangerous and anything can happen.
That report goes on to say that City watched the company over the cameras. During a 4-year period, the camera uptime averaged 90%, meaning 10% of the time parts of the city were blacked out from camera view. Kind Maxine.
And Vincent, do we know of any crimes that have happened close to a broken camera?
Yeah, Maxine, ironically, you can still see broken glass from a Kia that was stolen last week. Ironically, right across from this camera here on North Paca Street. Meanwhile, we're live in Baltimore. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
This week, the Baltimore Board of Estimates approved more than $80,000 in taxpayer funds to be used for trips. The most expensive trip will be a conference in Ocean City that will cost taxpayers $29,000. City leaders say events like these are critical for networking and showcasing Baltimore's achievements. However, some taxpayer watchdogs say the city could send fewer representatives, stay in cheaper hotels, or find alternate ways to fund the trips other than using taxpayer dollars.
Why does the city of Baltimore need to send 17 top officials, costing taxpayers $29,000 over to Ocean City for this county conference? I've never seen at a county conference anywhere across the country a breakout session on how to do more with less. I've never seen a breakout session or a conference dedicated to rooting out the systemic waste, fraud, corruption, and taxpayer abuse in all these spending systems.
President Nick Mosby asked for the most cash. Mosby requested the city pay nearly $1,700 for his hotel during his stay. In comparison, Councilmember Antonio Glover's lodging request was $982.
New tonight, the Baltimore City Council has postponed the confirmation hearing for the nomination of Richard Worley to police commissioner. That hearing was supposed to happen on August 15th. Fox 45 News is hearing is asking why the hearing is delayed. A new hearing will be announced at a later date, according to City Council President Nick Mosby's office. Worley was nominated by Mayor Brandon Scott in June, and since then, several controversies have come to light, including where he lives and the investigation into the Brooklyn Day mass shooting.
I have every confidence that we followed existing protocols and rules. There's no basis for anything, the complaints, the allegations of impropriety.
So you stand firm that there was nothing illegal done here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing illegal done here. This was totally in compliance with existing county policies.
First on Fox, after being accused of spying on fellow politicians, Harford County Executive Bob Casserly is holding his ground.
Casserly claims an internal investigation that involved looking at emails on county servers was both legal and allowed under Harford County policy.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson has details of the exclusive interview from Bel Air.
Hearing directly from the county executive today after a week's worth of accusations and back and forth. Casserly now calling this feud the politics of personal destruction. In Bel Air today.
It was slanderous. There was no wiretap. No wiretap took place. No attempted wiretap took place.
Harford County Executive Bob Casserly telling his side of the story.
This was a one-time find out what's in the emails with regard to this alleged theft of $7 million. A one-time snapshot, you look and you're done. One person looked at that and reviewed that. I was not part of that. Didn't have any part of the emails.
This week, Harford County Councilman Aaron Penman
spying on the opposite legislative branch isn't right.
Accusing Casserly of spying and committing wiretap violations. Penman said he was tipped off that emails between him, the sheriff, and several others had been monitored. After he made allegations, the county executive misappropriated $7 million in county funds back in May.
I do not work for the county executive. I work for the constituents of District B. It's a separate branch of government. I am not an employee of the county. Therefore, he is not privy to my emails and correspondence on cell phones.
But the county executive said an internal investigation into those allegations was done by the book.
All email servers are county property, and they're subject to review by county officials. So that's what was done. It was a one-time snapshot looking. They looked one time. It was one person looked. It was not an ongoing snooping of council members' stuff, but and that's it. And it was totally as allowed under the policies of the county.
Earlier this week, the Harford County Sheriff's Office said it opened an investigation after receiving a criminal complaint over the wiretap allegations. The case then shifted to the Harford County State's Attorney, but ultimately referred to the Office of the Maryland State Prosecutor. Were you the one who authorized and asked for this internal investigation to happen after that allegation of the misappropriation?
Certainly, as a county executive, the alleged misappropriation of $7 million was immediately brought to my attention, and I certainly immediately said, okay, let's get to the bottom of this, or words to that effect. I did not micromanage that investigation. I was not aware that the emails would be reviewed. I found about that after the fact.
Harford County's council president also wading into the debate this week as the elected legislative branch of county government. My colleagues and I are not classified as employees of the Harford County administration. Council President Patrick Vincenti said, in part, our collective correspondence with constituents and legislative matters should be held in a confidential manner.
To say you're not a county employee, you get a county paycheck, you're on the county payroll, and so that's absolutely the case, that they are county employees, and they do come within the coverage of the policy.
Today, Casserly also throwing his own jabs.
I've got some strong enemies out there, and unfortunately, Councilman Penman has emerged as the lead spokesman for that development industry.
Pointing to this feud simmering over other hot-button issues entirely, coining a new phrase for the Harford County infighting.
It's sad for me to see that his chief methodology here has been the politics of personal destruction.
Casserly said he hasn't spoken to Councilman Penman this week and has no plans to.
Intense debate doesn't qualify as personal destruction. That qualifies as intense debate, and that's good for us. But when a group of folks are coming out and their intent is to push you out of office, to deprive you of your office, I'm not sure if sitting down and discussing that with them is going to do a whole lot.
And this matter has been referred to the Maryland State Prosecutor. This week, State Prosecutor Chuck Howard tells me his office does not comment on the existence or status of any investigation. In Bel Air, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
This is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America.
Still ahead tonight, former President Trump pleads not guilty to 4 counts in his federal indictment. We take a look at what comes next.
Plus, gas prices are on the rise once again. A look at what is causing the national spike and how long it could last.
And Ravens training camp in full swing. Rocco DeSangro will join us live with updates.
And we're tracking the latest weather maker and some weekend heat. But guess what? School is just around the corner. Only 24 days until Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Harford County, Howard County, and Arundel County go back. And about 32 days for Carroll County. Other jurisdictions also 24 to 32 days until the kids are back on the school bus. I'm going to let you know when we're going to be on the shower and thunderstorm bus around here. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
The Ravens got after it for day 9 of training camp here in Owings Mills, and it was a practice that the offense won. But attendance, it's still a bit shaky. Aside from the guys on the PUP and non-football injury list, quarterback Rock Ya-Sin, he missed his 2nd straight practice. David Ajabo was not there out on the field. He did miss Wednesday's practice, returned Thursday, and missed again today. And there are a few other guys as well, Trenton Simpson, the rookie, being one of them. Here's head coach John Harbaugh with an update on both of those guys, as well as the rookie, following today's practice.
Those are short-term, should be back very soon. Rock should be back soon. David should be back soon. Trenton had a little issue, soft tissue. So that, we'll probably play it safe for a little bit. We'll see where it goes. I think those are normal camp things. So far, so good.
Harbaugh also spoke about the timeline for Rashad Bateman to return. He continues to be on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. For those of you out there that don't know what PUP means, Harbaugh non-committal to Bateman's return right now, but he's hoping that it's sooner rather than later. We'll have updates coming up tonight at 5:50 on Sports Unlimited. For now, live in Owings Mills, Rocco DeSangro for Sports Unlimited.
All right, thanks, Rocco. From the Ravens to the Orioles, a very special announcement on Fox 45 Morning News today.
Oh, but look at this, ladies and gentlemen. They put the full screen up a little early, but that's okay. I am going to throw out the first pitch at Camden Yards, August 27th against the Colorado Rockies.
Oh, my goodness. Justin Chambers.
I can't believe it.
You can't believe it. You've been begging for it on the air for like a year now.
I have been begging for it
But
for a
they
while.
listen to you. Justin, that's an honor. And now the question is, are you practicing? Are you nervous?
Huge honor, because remember Mike Elias on opening day was like, I don't want you to embarrass yourself.
Right.
So I was like, there's no chance in heck
And
or
you're
high
like,
water.
50 Cent has nothing on that.
Well, you got to do better.
But I did throw out the first pitch at a couple of minor leagues games in Colorado Springs and in Nashville.
Nice.
But that was from the mound.
How were they?
They were great.
Okay.
They were great. I practiced. And my brother-in-law in Massachusetts, which I may need to go visit between now and then to get some practice on making sure I throw it out. I don't think
Tell me the date again,
They
August?
don't let you touch the mound, I don't believe.
Right, in front of the mound now.
Yeah, August 27th. It's a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
I want everybody to be out there. Colorado
there.
Rockies. Hope so.
You're buying all the tickets?
I'll buy some tickets.
Meteorologist.
Do you get to bring us? Can we come out on the field with you?
We can maybe talk to Tessa over there, at Camden Yards.
All right, some very exciting news. Big congratulations to Justin. In the meantime, the O's are back at Camden Yards tonight. They'll be starting a 3-game series against the New York Mets. First pitch is at 7:05. I guess we need to start campaigning for you.
Right? I've been here 10 years. You know, he's still went beyond the years here in Baltimore. Getting
I
it.
know.
Good for him, though. Congratulations, Justin. I found out on social media, was looking through my feed today, and I saw he hadn't even told me. I was like, wow, that's
I think
amazing.
the station should buy us all tickets.
Yeah,
to
right?
go, and
Okay.
You can have the night off.
Maybe for several games. That would be good, too. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look. We actually do have a game tonight. And that's starting at 7:05. Showers and thunderstorms up around Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Altoona, Scranton, PA, Allentown. Looks threatening, right? Well, this is something that we're tracking as we get a little bit closer to game time. There's a few showers that are down to the south as well. But in between is where we are here in Baltimore for now. We take a look at the HC radar in motion, and you'll see some of those thunderstorms moving through Shamokin, Pennsylvania, down south toward Harrisburg. And the rain, some of the drizzle that we had last night into early this morning continues to shift its way off the coast. Now, again, the question is, are we going to have any of these storms for tonight's game against the Mets? And look, the marginal risk, that darker green risk of severe weather, the 1 of 5 risk, it's north of Baltimore. Doesn't mean we won't have a stray shower potentially as the game wraps up, but I think most of the activity is going to be north. And this means you folks in northern Carroll County, Hereford zone, especially Harford County, maybe Cecil County, northern portion of the eastern shore. There could be some damaging winds, maybe a downpour or two, but these storms, they're severe now. They will be on the wane as they head in during the evening, but it is something we'll track minute by minute, hour by hour into about midnight tonight as those come toward us and eventually dissipate, but some of them come through. Hot, humid conditions down to the south and west. I mean, hot. 103 at Oklahoma City, 103 at Dallas. Yep, we're back above 110 at Phoenix. It's been a hot summer there. New Orleans, nearly 100 degrees. We're on the edges of that heat, so showers and thunderstorms keep helping to cool us down. Clouds helping to cool us down. But notice what happens over the weekend. The pattern beginning to change as hotter weather, more typical of this time of year, begins to move in. Right now, we're sitting pretty, 80 degrees. It is a little bit muggy, but we'll take it. Winds out of the south-southeast as we take a beautiful look over the skies over Camden Yards on the Toyota H&R Harbor Skycam. Let's go ahead and track into this evening. There are those showers and thunderstorms north of the state line by about 9 p.m., approaching Cockeysville, Westminster, Bel Air, but poof, they disappear as they head toward Camden Yards and areas south. So there could be a shower for the game, but overall, I think it's primarily dry. Tomorrow's hot, 90, hot, a little bit humid on Sunday, near 90. Could see a shower storm late. Maybe another risk of severe weather coming for Monday. And then it looks like it's hot again well into next week.
Weak link number 1 is proving that Trump did not believe that he had won the election. And I don't think they can prove that.
Former President Donald Trump pleading not guilty to 4 counts, what he had to say about the 2024 presidential race. Plus, President Biden's controversial asylum rule has been upheld as arrests at the border rise with more migrants trying to cross.
There are 2 main reasons why you're seeing higher prices when you stop at the gas station. I'm Atra El-Nashar with what those are and how long they'll last, coming up.
Topping your consumer news tonight, drivers have been hit with a summer surge in gas prices that could stick around a little longer. Extreme heat and oil production cuts across the globe are inflating cost. And as national correspondent Atra El-Nashar explains, the high prices could be around for at least the rest of the summer.
On Friday, the average price for a gallon of regular gas in the U.S. hit $3.83, according to AAA. That's 31 cents higher than last month and the highest reading since October of last year.
Go out and write your bills out, you feel the deficit. Spend $100 on gas maybe every week or so.
Another blow to global oil prices came Thursday night from news Saudi Arabia is extending previously announced voluntary production cuts of 1 million barrels per day into September. Supply is also getting hit by this summer's extreme heat. Experts say once temperatures near 100 degrees Fahrenheit, oil refineries often have to scale back operations for safety reasons. The White House tells us they're watching this closely.
We're monitoring the situation carefully. We're in constant touch with the producers, making sure any supply disruptions are limited and doing what we can to ameliorate them.
Refineries in the South under a double threat during hurricane season. But everyone is exposed to the volatility of oil prices.
That reverberates throughout the economy, and then everything else starts to rise in price because energy is an input in everything that we produce.
Consumers certainly feeling the burn, but sometimes a business absorbs the extra costs itself, like Andy's Handy Mart, a gas station just outside Seattle.
Since the market has gone up so much, we've suffered a lot this year, and we kind of
We cannot always pass that on to the customer.
Spikes in gas prices over the last month are expected to show up in the next consumer inflation report due out next Thursday from the Labor Department, which could cause a blip in what's otherwise been a downward trend for overall inflation. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.
This is the Biden political lawfare that we have seen time and time again.
Coming up after the break, our coverage of the federal indictment of former President Donald Trump continues. National correspondent Scott Thuman joins us live from Washington with what comes next. And the crime crisis in Baltimore City having a major impact on businesses. We speak to a financial expert on what can be done to keep stores open.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, as the migration crisis continues to impact communities, one big city mayor may have no choice but to put up housing tents in one of the nation's most iconic parks.
This was never supposed to happen in America. This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot.
We're continuing coverage now of the federal indictment of former President Donald Trump.
Yesterday, Trump appeared in federal court in D.C.
He is facing 4 criminal counts, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S., obstructing an official proceeding, and violating voting rights. He's pleading not guilty to all 4 counts. So what comes next for the former president and 2024 presidential hopeful?
Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman joins us live tonight to break it all down. Scott, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good to see you. You know, there's nothing that says that the former president can't be arrested, convicted, even sentenced, and still not run for president. I mean, this can still happen. There's even, if we're getting way ahead of ourselves, this debate over whether or not a president could pardon himself. So if he were to regain office, could he do such a thing? But nonetheless, we're seeing this momentum that has been steadily building for the former president. He's got that dominant lead in the polls among Republican primary opponents, and he's been holding on to that for the most part. It's a little bit tighter from the national numbers. When you look at Iowa numbers, he's up about 24 points instead of in the 30s over Ron DeSantis. But fundraising's been relatively decent, although he spent a lot of it. So now what we need to do is see what happens next. For example, if the fourth indictment happens to come down from Georgia, will that affect his chances at all, or will he somehow surge as a result? And then what about the debate? That's coming up in just 2.5 weeks. We don't know yet whether or not he's going to attend the first Republican primary debate, which is going to be held in Milwaukee. We'll be there and bring you coverage from it. But does that hurt him or help him? And is he just kind of waiting for the last minute to make his announcement because he's very effective at drumming up spotlight when he wants to?
And Scott, meantime, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, they're talking about a debate. Why do you think they're deciding to do this? And do you think there is any other motivation behind it?
I think there's absolutely a motivation there. It's kind of a fascinating thing to say you're going to have a debate between two governors, opposite coasts. Their states obviously reflect very different political leanings and trends. And so Governor Newsom had said, hey, we'll have this debate. Let's do this. And then eventually Governor DeSantis of Florida said, OK. So now you have California, Florida, Democrat, Republican. And the underpinning story for all of this is that Governor DeSantis would love to be president. And some people believe, there's a theory out that perhaps Governor Newsom becomes the Democratic nominee, that maybe down the road at a convention, President Biden decides he's out, health, age, whatever it may be, and pushes delegates to Governor Newsom. And that could be the showdown, the matchup. So some think this could be a precursor, but nonetheless, we could have this 90-minute debate between two governors that they think kind of create a narrative or maybe almost a referendum on what should happen with the future of the country. Should it be left? Should it be right? Should it be California, Florida? We'll see.
Right, because Scott, quickly before you go, the line always about Donald Trump is when he comes in, he sucks the air out of the room. Is this maybe some attempt to take the spotlight off of him?
Oh, sure. I think absolutely. There's going to be that ABT theory out there, especially for Republicans, anyone but Trump. And so how do you dethrone someone who, even though he's not the president, doesn't hold office, he's still kind of the de facto voice, the loudest voice of the Republican Party right now. And for DeSantis, yeah, and you have to think outside the box, and it includes Democrats. They have to figure out how to enthuse people who right now look at that potential matchup of Biden versus Trump and say, we have seen this movie over and over, whether it was Bush's, Clinton's, Trump's, Biden's. We want something new and different. And maybe this is a way to present that.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Scott, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
We're turning now to a city in crisis. Another popular business is closing its doors.
Yeah, sad news. Busboys and Poets in Charles Village, right around Johns Hopkins, says they're closing down for good. They weren't open that long.
There. No. But people loved it. And while they did not say crime and violence were motivation for the closure, we have seen a number of popular stores do just that.
Back in May, Doc's Smoke Shop that's in Highlandtown closed its doors after 40 years in business. In March, the owner was robbed at gunpoint while inside, which she says was the second time in 6 months.
In June, a spokeswoman for Giant Foods admitted theft and violence have caused the longtime supermarket chain to weigh whether to close some of their locations.
At the end of June, Eddie's of Mount Vernon shut its doors permanently. The owner told Fox 45 News crime was a driving force behind their decision.
And just last month, Lidl supermarket in Brooklyn Park shutting down after 3 years in the area. The company never indicating why that closure happened, but insiders say the level of theft was a major factor.
David Williams with the Taxpayer Protection Alliance joins us live to weigh in on how crime could be impacting businesses in Baltimore. David, thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and this is frustrating on a lot of levels, right? Because these are businesses that survived the pandemic. They came back after the pandemic, but now it's crime that's taken its toll on these businesses. And quite frankly, crime acts like a tax on the economy because it affects the economy and it also affects taxpayers. Because when you have crime, when you have whether it's carjackings, homicides, you are creating an atmosphere within a city that is just not conducive to business. And we see this. And you mentioned a whole list of businesses that that are leaving because of criminal activity, and that is going to hurt the city financially. So not only is it a physical problem, it's a fiscal problem for the city because you're going to have empty buildings and your people are fleeing to the suburbs and the businesses are leaving. And it's really the last thing they want to do because they want to operate within the city, but they just can't at this point.
And the city has been making strides to attract tourism with new renovations to the CFG Bank Arena, the Lexington Market, Topgolf. But it seems that small businesses like Eddie's and Doc Smoke Shop, they're the ones who are really suffering here. Why do you think that is?
That is because that they just don't feel safe in the city anymore. And then you also have these big businesses. I mean, we see some downtown office buildings that were valued at, upwards of $60 million just a few years ago are selling, for pennies on the dollar at $20 million. So this is up and down the board, small and big businesses. And then you look at what is happening for taxpayers is that now tax dollars are going more towards crime prevention. They're not going towards redevelopment. Look at Monzi. Monzi keeps on getting a big chunk of money, $50 million from federal relief funds. And this is, quite frankly, Monzi hasn't proven itself to reduce crime. So, the city is struggling, and it really, kind of breaks your heart to see the small businesses. And again, these are not businesses that want to leave. They have to leave.
All right. And so, David, how do we reconcile this with the city? I mean, a lot of these, to be honest with you, a lot of these businesses were already gone from the city. A lot of the industry left the city decades, if not years ago. So there's been nothing there in the first place. So how do you bring people back, and what should city leaders be doing?
Well, and you really hit the nail on the head, city leaders. That's where the mayor needs to step in, the city council and the city council president, all the leaders of the city need to make Baltimore a safer city, whether that's increasing police presence in neighborhoods or just spending more money and making sure that, and I'm a taxpayer advocate and I'm talking about spending more money, but when it comes to crime, you really need to crack down because it's going to have that ripple effect. And once you make a city safer, and we've seen this in Glendale, Arizona, San Diego, California, really safe cities that are absolutely booming right now. So it can happen. So you can see an economic rebound from this. Pandora is leaving, right? We saw that Pandora is relocating to New York City. So across the board, this is not good news for Baltimore. And again, it's about leadership. It's leadership at the very top, and that's the mayor.
All right, David Williams, thanks so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you.
Well, taking a look at the Fox Quad Box, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is sentenced to 19 years in prison on extremism charges. Navalny was accused of creating an extremist community, financing extremist activities, and a number of other crimes. The United States and European Union condemned that sentence. Navalny has been incarcerated in Russia since his return to the country in 2021.
Jonathan Majors' assault and harassment trial has been pushed to September 6th. The Marvel actor was originally expected to appear in court August 3rd. Majors is accused of striking a woman's face and putting his hand on her neck, causing bruising. He has denied those allegations.
According to a report by the Huffington Post, Planned Parenthood, the Sierra Club, and the progressive Democratic group Justice Democrats are all undergoing layoffs. The Justice Democrats laying off half of its 20-member staff by mid-July. Planned Parenthood did the same. NPR reported in May that layoffs were expected to impact 20% of its workforce.
Plus, we continue to follow the crisis at the border as leaders from both sides of the aisle are speaking out.
Stricter asylum restrictions at the border are remaining in place for now, but with some opposition.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
It's a short-term win for the White House.
Our border enforcement plan works. Unlawful border crossing have come down to the lowest that we have seen in the past 2 years.
An appeals court upholding the Biden administration's new asylum policy, blocking a lower court's attempt to end it. Under the rule, migrants have to prove they were rejected asylum in a different country in order to be allowed into the U.S. It's a key part of the Biden administration's post-Title 42 border strategy.
Though I'm a Democrat, I feel like I've got to say this. Our current president has made it too hard for people who want to lawfully, legitimately claim asylum to do so in the right way.
The ruling comes amid a recent uptick in migrant arrests. Homeland Security now sending 140 new ICE agents to key areas in Texas, Arizona, and California, increasing the number of agents there from 60 to 200. Border states continue busing migrants to Democratic-run sanctuary cities to draw attention to the crisis. New York City dealing with an influx of 93,000 and counting.
This is an absolute mess.
As the city runs out of places to house the newcomers, Mayor Eric Adams reportedly considering setting up migrant tents on the youth soccer fields of Randall's Island and in Central Park.
Eventually, this was going to come to a neighborhood near you. We need to control the border.
Liberal comic Bill Maher calling out what he sees as hypocrisy of sanctuary cities like New York.
Don't pretend that you love migrants so much, and then when we send them to you, you don't like them. You liked them when it wasn't your problem because you're not a border state.
As for the Biden administration's asylum policy, the legal battle is far from over. Some predicting it could end up in the Supreme Court. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Well, the next drawing for the massive Mega Millions jackpot is tonight, and if Maxine says that she wins, she might loan me $5.
Yeah, that's it, $5. The top prize has grown to $1.25 billion. All right, maybe a little more.
A little more than that? Okay, all right, I appreciate that. Thank you, Maxine.
The cash option there, $625 million.
Yeah, and it is the fourth largest prize in the game's history. Now, the last Mega Millions jackpot winner was April 18th.
Trending tonight now, a deal that you will not want to miss out on. The Great Wolf Lodge in Perryville is offering its annual $84 sale for 8-4-Day. The lodge is offering rooms for just $84 in honor of 8-4-Day, which celebrates the year-round water park temperature set at 84 degrees. That's nice and warm. It's an attempt to help families have the experience of getting away any time of the year. This year's sale is extending the stay dates through mid-December.
Coming up after the break, could back to school mean more vaping for young teens? We talk about the dangers as doctors see more young people picking up the habit.
And if you have plans on going out to see the O's at 7:05, well, temperature is going to be very welcoming. Not too warm for this time of year. 80s falling back into the 70s. Could be maybe a stray shower by the end of the game, but shouldn't impact gameplay significantly. I'm going to be tracking a lot of showers and storms rolling in. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.